Hey guys! So today we're going to look at some of my old art. I have sifted through all my archives on Instagram and in my files, and I found art from 5, almost 6 years ago, and we're going to be looking through them and rating them in a tier list. And I'm really looking forward to it. So let's get started. So at first we have this drawing from 2019. So I know at that time I used to like not removing the guidelines and sketch completely from my line art. Kind of have that messy, not totally clean look. It is actually a redraw of a drawing I did at the beginning of that year, so even longer ago. It was a big difference and I was very proud of the progress I had made, and I think rightfully so. I think the drawing is good. I don't think it's very interesting. The background is just an even plane. It doesn't have very interesting lighting. I do like the color scheme with the purple and the black lips, but it's not very interesting. So I think I'm gonna put it in mid. So this next one is actually also a redraw I did around the same time. I had found like 2 pieces I had made on paper back then, and I really want to redraw them to show my progress. And I actually like this one a lot more. It has so much more personality, the pose is so much more interesting. It all really has a theme. I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't fully commit to the background or anything. It's again just a color, gray even. So I do think I kind of missed out on that. So I do think this one has potential, so I think it's B tier. Now this next one is actually from 2020, and I think it's amazing. I still love it so much. I don't even know why or how, but this one is just so much better than any drawings I did around the time, which is just amazing. I really like how I did the pose. I think the line art is clean. I still did the thing with the guidelines, but I think it's so cute. I think the way the braids look, the details in the flowers, the lighting from her head, there's not much I would improve. So I think I'm gonna move this one to A tier. Great. I think it's already pretty amazing, and I still really love it even though it's been for almost 5 years. This next one is really interesting because I actually inspired it off of a song. It was inspired by the song Angel by Phineas. I was obsessed with that song and I really want to capture that in a drawing. I actually drew the line art. I did it in a sketchbook, and mostly I don't really like traditional art in the way that I finish it, but this one was just so amazing. I was drawing it at school and then I was like, oh my god, this is great, I have to finish this and like color it in digitally. So I did that and I think it's still amazing. I do think the coloring around the flowers, I was using the airbrush a lot back then. I was drawing on Autodesk Sketchbook. That was my first digital drawing program, and I didn't really know how to use any textured airbrushes. So I was only really using smooth shading, which I do think helped me back a little, but I do still think it's amazing. I think the coloring, the whole atmosphere, it's still just good, and it really captured the vibe of the song very well. So I think this is still A tier. Now this next one is actually from an OC of mine. Her name was Sybil, and she was really like this bubbly skater girl. She likes to hang out outside. She's kind of wild, but she's still very sweet and bubbly. So I really like how that came through in this drawing. I think the expression is very cute as well, but it would have been so much better if she was just placed in an environment that maybe showed off more of her character as well. So I think I'm gonna put this in has potential because I do really like it, but it could have been so much more. This one I made around the same time and is also of an original character. Her name was Audrey. They were actually girlfriends, and she was a lot more of the like preppy girl, a lot more focused on the more serious things in life, which didn't really came through, which is sad. I had this drawing as my profile picture for a long time, so I really did like it, but it's not that interesting. I really liked the shading on the jacket the most. It really has that kind of shimmery texture and I really like it, but since it has again a boring background and it didn't really show her character as much as it should, I think I'm gonna put it in mid. even though I really like it. So it pains me a little bit, but if I have to look at it critically, I think it should have been a lot more. So this one is actually one I kind of, for the first time, really liked drawing skin tones and shading skin. Mostly if I was shading before, it was really simple shell shading. And I really didn't figure out how to blend or do anything interesting to create that kind of texture and 3D effect. And the shading on the clothing, the like wine or blood splatter around his shirt is really cool. This was actually a redraw of The Corpse Husband, his cover. I was a really big fan of his music. I still listen to it in the gym. I can't critique anything of it specifically. It's a good redraw, but I also don't think it's anything special because it is just a redraw. It's just fan art of a photo. So I think I'll put it in B tier. Now this drawing was actually a draw this in the style of a friend of mine at the time, and I think I cooked so hard with this one. I think it is such a good drawing. Like what I did with the diagonal composition, I think it's really interesting. I think the effect of the broken crown really adds something to the story of the drawing. The effects are really well drawn. The shading on her sweater or dress, should I say, was really good. And for what I did at the time, I think this is so much farther above it. Like the whole depth with the blurring in the foreground, this just really stands out in that way. So I think I'm just gonna put it in A tier. Sadly, this next one isn't as interesting. It was just a drawing I made of a Pinterest photo. I think this is mid for sure. I like the shading of it a little bit, like on the hair specifically. I really like the shiny effects of it. Texture of the jacket is just coming through. I don't think I colored it right. It just looks a little bit off. I also really don't like how I shaded the hands. It's just boring. It's default. I didn't do much interesting with it. Now this next one is actually from 2021 and I really like it. I was kind of questioning my art. I was often drawing just these random, not very specific things, and I really wanted to do something with more meaning and more atmosphere, just something more memorable. So I created this one as first, and I really like how I kind of showed the meaning behind it. I mean, everyone kind of had a different interpretation of it, which was even more awesome to see. I really just like what it meant to me. I really like what I did with the colors, with the lighting, with the shading. Just everything about it is just really nice, and it's one of my all-time favorite drawings. So I think I'm putting it in S tier. So this one is actually kind of like the last one. I was still trying to do something really meaningful with my art, and it really shows. I think it's a very graphic drawing. I really liked how I shaded the heart, but I really didn't pull through on the background again. I think I'll put it in grade. It's still awesome. I do think the perspective is just a little bit off, and the anatomy is too. It's still one I can really look at and think like, oh yeah, I did that back then. It was good. This piece I actually really didn't like at the time. And I still kind of don't. But I really can't put my finger on exactly why. The lighting is fine. I really like the background and the fading. It has so much atmosphere, which was really what I was trying to do. But something about the face or the anatomy or the arm, I just don't think it's that good, even though it has really great features. It is very fun because it was a fan art of an OC from a friend of mine. I'll show here the original one, and I really wanted to pay tribute to her character because I thought it was just a great design. I'll put it in B tier. It has potential, but something is just lacking or not quite right, and I really cannot put my finger on it. It's really strange. So we're still in 2021, and this is again a random portrait I did. This was just a picture I found on Instagram. I wasn't really inspired. I think I went through a lot of art block around this time. So finding something to really want to draw was really hard. I do think it's a good drawing. I like the colors, like the pastels and the shading in the hair. But I don't know what the hell is going on with her hand. That looks like a T-Rex hand. I don't know why it made it look like she had only 3 fingers and like the like part of her sleeve is way too small, even if you're looking at it from the side. I don't know where I went wrong, but it's really bad. So I think I'm gonna put it in mid. So we're gonna make a big jump all the way to 2023. In 2022, I think my art block had really come to an extreme and I barely drew that year at all, let alone post any of it. So there's not much to say about 2022, which is sad. Now the version I'm showing you here is actually kind of a redraw. Well, not totally, it's like an edited version. I really didn't like how I drew myself by there. I really like the environment and the sunflowers and everything. So I just redrew the character and put it in the environment. So that's the change you're gonna be seeing here. And I do think this is an S tier drawing. I do think that. I put so much effort into the background and drawing the sunflowers. Obviously, I cheated a little, but I still do think it's amazing. And I like the lighting and the sky and how I drew everything. So it's an easy S tier, yeah. Now this next one is actually one of my all-time favorites. It is a fan art of my girl Rosalina. And I really like the shading I did on her. The dramatic lighting is just so amazing, and the way I showed her in my style was so exciting to see. This is, well, one of my first times doing actual fan art. I've been obsessed with her for so long, so I was really looking forward to drawing her. I really think the text just adds to it. I'm really hesitating between S and A tier. I do really like it. I think it's S tier. So this is actually a Billie Eilish fan art. You're starting to see I was really getting into fan art right now, and this is one of the first time drawing Billie Eilish. I did draw her multiple times. I'll show here some of my other drawings I didn't put in here, but mostly I didn't really like posting them because I didn't want to post too much fan art. That's basically all I do right now. That was one of my first time really experimenting with textured brushes. I have been using a lot of different brushes in Procreate already, but this is the first time I really went hard in that rough texture. And I think it's just really cool. I don't really like how I painted her face. Might have been easier to just smooth that out a bit. But within the drawing, it is pretty great. So I think I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's not like one of my favorites. This one makes me really happy because it is a drawing of my best friend, Charlotte. This was actually a gift to her. This was one of her senior prom pictures that I redrew, and I really want to give it like a magical effect. It was pretty hard to do. I started this drawing actually really long ago, all the way in Autodesk Sketchbook, but I finished it in Procreate. But I still really like the effect, and the way I did the lace on the dress, it's just amazing. The lighting, great. I think this one is easily S tier, and I'm a little bit biased because it's my friend, but it's just so gorgeous. It's just mwah. So this one is actually also one of my favorites. It's getting a bit hard not to love all of these that are coming because these are my most recent. Well, this one is still in 2023. It still feels very recent. I think the art I've been making in the last 2 years have just really made me happy. And even though I was struggling with art block and frustrations and other things in life, I think what really helped me is to focus on drawing things I love. So I started making a lot of fan art. And even though I do want to kind of get away from that and start making like own things again. So I really like this one. I think just the drawing of itself is just amazing. I use myself as a reference and I really like it. It's so powerful and the shading is so nice. And I actually really like the visual effects I did. But for once, I actually committed to the background. I did it. I finished the background. I didn't give up and just made it a solid color. So we have another Rosalina fan art. This time with a Luma, which is just so cute. I do think the shading could have been better. I started getting kind of lazy. I don't like the background that much. I wanted to do something more galaxy and interesting about it, but I kind of settled for this when I wasn't working out. I think it's fine. It's very cute, obviously, but it could have been a lot more, so I'm just gonna put it in mid. So we have even more fan art, this time from Howl's Moving Castle, my favorite movie. I love that movie so much, I love Ghibli so much, and I really wanted to draw Sophie. So I chose this one scene, find me in the future and everything. The coloring is just a bit boring. Now maybe I chose a scene where the coloring is a bit boring, but I think I could have still made it better as an artist. So even though I really like it because it's my favorite movie, I am gonna put it in B tier. It has potential. So this one is actually a commission I made of someone I knew. They requested me drawing them with a picture of their dog, which is really cute. I really like how I drew the dog. The fur was so complicated, but I really committed to this and it looks amazing. I don't draw animals, so being able to draw it this well is just... I was impressed with myself, okay? I do think the coloring itself is a bit boring. Maybe that was just because it was a commission. I want to make it more photorealistic, but I feel like I should have done something more artsy with it. Especially the background is just, I mean, I kind of crashed through that. You know me and backgrounds. But I just really was excited to just give it to him. So I'll say it is B tier again. So we're on to the last 3, and these 3 are actually also from 2024. This last one was, by the way, also from 2024. And this one is again one of my all-time favorites. Oh my god, it is so cute. Dawn and Piplup laying in the grass together. I actually didn't grow up on Pokemon, sadly. I wasn't allowed to watch it. I was introduced to it a few years ago and I really like it. I had spent ages trying to find the right reference for this like kind of effect with the light through the trees. And it was so hard to find a good reference for that. That effort really shined through. I really tried making the texture of the grass good, the whole interaction. I really tried to make it a lot of personality, a lot of story. Really put in the time to put in the right items and stuff like that. And it just shows and I really love it and I love how much I did with it. I think I'll put this in S tier. So there's the last 2 and they're both fan arts. This one I had made most recently and it is a fan art of Kirby from Kirby the Forgotten World. It is such an amazing game. I was fully obsessed. I still am, and we completely played it through, you know, got all the levels, all the accomplishments, and it was just such a good time. I think I'll put it in A tier. I think I kind of fucked up the perspective a little bit. I'm not sure. I really tried to do something interesting. And now we're on to the very last drawing of today. And it's a fan art of Spirited Away, another Ghibli movie. Also one of my favorite movies. I really like it. I like the composition. I really like the coloring and lighting effect and like the rim lighting on Chihiro. I think I'll put it in great. So that was my collection of the last drawings from the 5 to 6 years. It was very fun to look through them all. And there is more art that I hate. But usually if I really hate a drawing, I won't even finish it. You know, if I don't see the potential in it, to me, there's no point in finishing it. It really shows that progression isn't just a straight line forward, that you're only gonna be making works you like better in the future. So it was really interesting to see that and really go through and critique and commentate on my old art. Anyways, I'll see you next time. Goodbye and have a nice day.